Here are some rules for a healthy imagination. Rule number 1. Never place into your imagination any thought that you would not want to materialize. Rule number 2. Rule number 2 is of equal importance. Never allow your imagination to be contaminated by ideas about how your life used to be. You need faith in your power to make the non-existent your reality. Just because you haven't experienced the magic of the non-existent appearing in your daily life is no reason to poison your imagination with the thoughts that got you where you are now or have been for most of your life. I can't help it, I've always been that way are statements indicating how you used your imagination in the past. Now you must be willing to change your concept of yourself, and you cannot do that by hanging on to those old ideas that once were your truths. Those truths have kept you from achieving the complete fulfillment of your dreams. Your imagination can undergo a complete overhaul. Replace the old ideas of, I've always been this way, it's my nature, it's the only thing I've ever known. Replace them with, I am God, I am capable, I am strong, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am happy. Or use the words of Saint Germain, quote, I am the conquering presence. I command this I am presence to govern perfectly my mind, my home, my affairs, and my world, unquote. Use your imagination for the fulfillment of your God-realized and God-aligned wishes. Expand your imagination beyond the concept of yourself that limits you to ordinary consciousness. Rule number 3 is a strong reminder to you that your imagination is yours and yours alone. It is a vast, boundaryless realm within you that no one else has access to. No one can peer into your imagination and place things in there that they prefer for you, nor can they extract any ideas that are percolating in that grand imagination of yours. Your imagination is your own fertile field for growing any seedlings that you choose to plant for a future harvest. This rule advises you to never allow someone else's ideas about what is possible or impossible for you, how you should be thinking, or who you should be, or anything else to occupy your imagination. Regularly inventory the thoughts in your imagination. Notice how many of those ideas were originally suggested by well-meaning others, dating all the way back to your early childhood, up to and including today. You may have been told that you have always been a dreamer, as if this were a fault. I can speak here from experience. Family, friends, teachers, and even advisors frequently disparaged ideas that burned brightly in my imagination. I often heard comments such as, Wayne, you're such a dreamer, get real. You're never going to make it as a writer or a television performer or a movie personality. Be realistic. We know what's best for you. When I was being discharged from the Navy at the age of 22, my superiors warned me that starting college at my advanced age was loaded with uncertainty, particularly since I had no higher education experience and I would be competing with younger, recent high school graduates. Since I already had a skill as a cryptographer in the Navy, they advised me to pursue what they felt was best for me. But I had a dream. An imagination filled with the ideas of teaching and writing and speaking to large audiences. I saw myself on stage. I saw myself as a prominent author, and this vision could not and would not be sabotaged by someone else's vision of what I should or could become. As a young boy in a foster home, I almost always ignored other people's ideas about what I should be thinking or doing. I simply was indifferent to their opinions regarding what I could imagine for myself. I've carried this kind of inner discipline regarding my own imagination with clarity, refusing to allow external opinions to cancel or diminish what for me was hallowed ground. Recently, others advised me that acting in a movie was not sensible for me as a 68-year-old man with no acting experience. I once again remembered to hang the Do Not Disturb sign at the entrance to my imagination, and proceeded to take acting lessons and adopt the self-enforced regiment that allowed me to create a movie. It is a product that fills me with pride today, all because I have diligently practiced rule number 3. I urge you to watch The Shift and see what I mean. Never, and I mean never, allow anyone else's ideas of who you can or can't become to sully your dream or pollute your imagination. This is your territory. And a keep out sign is a great thing to erect at all entrances to your imagination. Generally speaking, the viewpoints of other people regarding how you should occupy your imagination involve their own self-interest. Frequently, the inclination to meddle in your imagination is a way to get something for themselves by persuading you of the folly of your dreams. Enlist only those, including yourself, who are primarily interested in what you see or hear in your imagination about your life. Rule number 4. Rule number 4 may surprise you. It concerns what you don't want to let monopolize your imagination. Do not let your imagination be restricted to the current conditions of your life, or what I call being obsessed with what is. Your imagination is unlimited, and if you've opted for an ordinary level of living, it is tempting to stay in what is rather than what you unabashedly intend to manifest for yourself. Keep reminding yourself that everything that you've believed has gotten you to precisely the point where you are now. If you want to elevate your life and become a manifester, then you have to change what you believe to be true about yourself that has landed you exactly where you are today. The sentiments of, this is reality, this is just the way things are, there's nothing that I can do to change it, and the like are pernicious thoughts that will taint and defile your great gift of I am that I am, which is your divine inheritance from your Creator. Just as growth isn't possible if one continues doing things exactly the same today as yesterday and tomorrow, so is your imagination charged with the same challenge. In your imagination, you can replace the thought of, I will one day be in a better place with, I am already in my mind where I intend to be. This may sound irrational because you are accustomed to evaluating your life on the basis of what your senses tell you is your reality. You can make the choice to reprogram your imagination to take you where you intend to be in the now. Creation originates in the world of spirit, or to say it differently, your imagination is the source of all that has yet to manifest for you. By staying only with what your senses tell you is your reality, you place a barrier to letting your imagination create all that you wish, all that you desire. Your imagination is unlimited. What is today is restricted by just that, what is today.
So some of the things that you can do on a daily basis to begin to put this principle into practice are, I think, one of the most important things. The very first one, I have a sign on my refrigerator that I look at every day, and so do all of my children, and it says, I love what I do, and I do what I love. And this is a very important principle to have in your life. If you're doing something and you don't love it, then change your attitude toward it, or B, change what you're doing. But as long as you have the option of using love in your life, then you want to do what you love and love what you do. So practice saying that over and over again. And when you find yourself about to complain and find fault with something, remind yourself, I'm doing what I love and I'm loving what I do. And I always have the choice to love it. Even if it's something that I would rather not be doing at the moment, you can still do it with a sense of love. And then the second thing I would recommend in honoring your worthiness to receive is to make every effort to remove the habits that you have of pessimism and negativity and judgment and complaining and gossip and cynicism and resentment and fault-finding. All of these kinds of ways that we have in our inner dialogues and our outer dialogues. You get these words out of your vocabulary and you replace them with words of optimism and love and acceptance and kindness and peace as your way of communicating, as your way of processing your world and all the people that are in it. It's just a habit. Most of these things about complaining about the weather or complaining about the way your Aunt Tilly does her hair or not liking the way the dog comes in the morning or whatever it is, all of these things are just habits that you've cultivated, and they keep you from feeling worthy of receiving all that you would like to have manifesting. Love is the energy that will bring that to you, and if you don't experience and use this love in your own communications, then it will be blocked from your life. I'd also, of course, always give yourself quiet time each day to erase any feelings that you have of unworthiness. One of the cliches of our culture today is that God doesn't make any garbage. God doesn't make any mistakes. And you are not a mistake. You are absolutely as holy and divine as everyone and everything else on this planet now, or that has ever been here or ever will be. That divine energy and force is within you. It can't be taken away from you. And just take a moment or two every time that you start putting yourself down or finding fault with something about yourself to remind yourself that you are a divine creation. You are a piece of God. And when you put yourself down, you're literally putting God down. And that's something you want to avoid doing. I would recommend also each day that you read spiritual literature or poetry. You'll see a lot of poetry and a lot of references to spiritual literature throughout this program and all of the programs that I've produced for Nightingale Conant and in all of my books, because it's something that I work at every day. I can't go into a bookstore without coming home with some new piece of poetry or new essays that someone might have written, and I just set them in key places in my house, and I read them, and I encourage other people to read them, and I take passages out of them. It's almost like doing my spiritual homework, and I do it each and every day of my life. Also, I would allow yourself to be surrounded by things of beauty as much as possible. One of the things that we have in our home is fresh flowers every day. They're always there, and when they have a tendency to dry out, then we replace them with new flowers. And nice photographs, and putting on our walls pictures of the children and good times and wonderful memories, so that we can look at these things of beauty, including pictures of yourself. And I would also practice kindness toward yourself as frequently as possible. The more that you can remember that you are worthy of that kindness, and give yourself a chance to just do something extra nice for yourself. You know, get that expensive thing on the menu, or buy yourself that little bottle of perfume, or give yourself the option of having a glass of wine on an airplane, or sitting in first class, or whatever it is that might be something that you would enjoy. The final thing that I would do in assessing my worthiness is to begin to process the universe as a friendly place rather than an unfriendly place. I mean, this is the only place that you have. This air that you're breathing is very friendly. This fire that keeps you warm, this sun that keeps you warm, it's very friendly. And so is the grass that you walk upon, and so is the snow that falls down, and so is the rain. Everything about the universe is supportive of you. So see it as a friendly place, rather than a place that is conspiring against you.
And Peter Dunant said there are different kinds of love. He said there are basically three. There's human love. And human love is a love that changes, and it's a love that varies. So this is a love that most of us know. It's, I love you, but not as much because it was Valentine's Day and my birthday, and now you forgot to get me this, and you came home late, and you did that, and so it changes and it varies. I love you a lot today, not so much as yesterday. It's up and down. It changes. I love you. I hate you. I love you. I hate you. You're going. This is what we call human love, the love that we have become accustomed to. All right, and it's a love that I aspire to get past. He said the second kind of love is a love that's called spiritual love, and this is a love that never changes, but it does vary. This is the only way you can describe, the best way to describe this love is that the love you have for your child. I have 8 children, and it doesn't change. It's always there. I've got some that have done very disappointing things. There are some that have done wonderful things, and on, but it just doesn't change. It doesn't matter what they've done. You all know that, all of you who are parents, or even who had parents. So that pretty much includes everyone here. But it does vary. Not so much as yesterday. It's like, you're not following the rules, and you're disobeying this, and you're not dressing whatever it might be. And so it's a love that it varies. It's up and it's down. It's up and it's down, but it never changes. And then there's another kind of love. It's the love I aspire to live. It's a love called divine love. Divine love is a love that never changes. Divine love is a love that never varies. It's all there is. In the unveiled mysteries, the attitude of one who wishes to work in conscious cooperation with the ascended host should not be, I wish I could go to them for instructions, that is, go to the angels or to God or whatever and get instructions. But rather, I will so purify, discipline, and perfect myself, become such an expression of divine love, myself, that the work that I do will automatically be drawn unto them. I will love so constantly, so infinitely, so divinely, that the very intensity of my own light will open the way for them to accept me. That is, you have to love the way God loves us. The great poet Hafiz said, even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Just think what a love like that can do. It lights up the whole world. This is a different kind of love than human love and spiritual love. This is a love that is what we are. It's a love that you will experience when you leave this body. It's a love that in the Bhagavad Gita they talk about combining the opposites, transcending the dichotomies, bringing oneness. Oneness is a concept that we cannot know as human beings other than when we are in silence. Because God's one and only voice is silence. It's only through meditation that you can even approach this. Because everything in the physical plane has a duality, has an opposite. If I said to you, what's the opposite of joy? You would say, sadness, sorrow, depression, whatever. If I ask you to imagine joy that has no opposite, that's all there is. If I ask you, what's the opposite of love? You might say fear, you might say hate, you might say rage, whatever. But if I ask you, imagine a love that has no opposite, you will know that when you take your last breath. When I read the poem from Hafiz at the end, you will know that. I aspire to it now. It's like, how do you get to a place where there is no opposites? Let's just say you lived on the sun, right smack on the sun, okay? Would you ever have a concept of darkness? Because the opposite of light is what? Dark, right? But on the sun, would you ever have an experience of darkness? Why? Because when you are with the source of all light, there is no opposite. There's only light. When you are with the source of love, which is God, or divine mind, or the Tao. In the Tao, they say, the opening line of the Tao says, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. So the minute you name it, you've lost it, because now you have the name and the thing, that's two-ness.
Rumi said, this ancient Persian poet, brilliant, beautiful poet, he said, sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. It feels like bewilderment. It feels like awe. It feels like, even as I think about it now, I can feel myself tearing up behind my eyes, because only I know what is going on behind my eyeballs. It feels like so glorious and so sweet and so trusting, so knowing. You know, there's just this powerful knowing that you're not alone. There's this, that it's like there's a safety, there's a sense of that you're not alone. And behind the feeling we're talking about here is this feeling of aloneness for so many people who are lost in the world, that I don't have like a connection to something greater than myself. I've come to believe that who I am is what I do and what I have and what other people think about me, and who I am is separate from everybody else, and who I am is separate even from what I'd like to attract into my life, that I'm separate from all the things that are missing, and I'm separate even from God. And that there's a place within me that knows that I'm not separate from any of that. That if there's no place that God is not, or that source is not, or the energy that provides, that is always giving and always creating is not, if there's no place that it is not, then it has to be in me. I know that. And if there's no place that it's not, and it has to be in me, it has to be also in everything that is missing in my life, or that I think is missing. It's there too. So that in some mysterious, invisible way, I'm already connected to everything that's missing in my life through something called spirit. And when I recognized that I'm not here as this human being having a spiritual experience, when you recognize that your essence is that you are a spiritual being, having a human experience, not the other way around. When you really get that, I mean, not that you can say it and it's clever, but when you know that who you are is this essence, you don't see, there's no other, there's no them. There's nothing outside of you. You're connected to everyone and everything. As the Native Americans, you'd say that no tree has branches so foolish as to fight among themselves. Your body wasn't made by your parents. We like to think that our bodies were made by our parents. That's because you look a certain way and all of that. But if we take the tiny little drop of protoplasm that created you, and we try to find out its origin, and we take it all the way back to subatomic particles and reduce it, we find out when we put it in a particle accelerator and rev it up at 250,000 miles an hour and collide it, and we open it up, there's nothing there. That you came from the invisible, you came from source. It's the spirit that gives life. So that once you understand that this body of yours is a creation not of human beings, but it's a creation of God. It's a creation of source. It's a creation, it came from nowhere and an invisible source and manifested into the world of the physical. And so it only reacts to truth because it was created by truth. So once you lie, this is an ultimate lie detector test. That's why I always say we could have saved $93 million with President Clinton. It's like, come on. Did you have sex or didn't you? Let's get over this, But now you're using an instrument not of human beings. All of our bodies are divine creations, and they only react to truth with strength. The truth that when you go weak, you're going against your Tao nature. Your true nature is not revenge. Your true nature is not hatred. You came from love, and you have to stay in that state. And once you learn that, once you get that, having that demonstrated could change your life. Just that moment could change it forever. People ask me, what is your biggest confusion about humanity? It's like man's inhumanity to man. This recognition that we are something beyond ego. And we don't, we have a divided world, a world that believes that, if you're male, you're different than if you're female. If you're Muslim, you're different than if you're Christian. If you're born on one side of the river, then you're different than the person who wasn't. And we've taken on all of these ego beliefs. And I think the new generation, this generation, it's, their job isn't to end a war. It's to end war. It's to end the concept of war. And the concept of war comes out of this ego identification of who we are, and a belief that I am what I have, and I am what I do, and I am what others think of me, and I am separate from everyone, separate from God, separate from what's missing, this idea of separation and so on. And we will inch by inch move towards a place where people will begin to recognize their connection to each other rather than their separation, or we'll have to just start all over. We'll have to start it over. As Einstein said, if the next war that is fought, he said, after this one will be fought with, with sticks again. We'll have to start all over again. We'll have to start all over. And it's really about slaying this ego, this massive ego thing. You can see it in our foreign policy. You can see it in the way that we treat it. You can see it on television. You can see it in all of the ads that you see for having to take pills for everything. And that's what I feel my work is about. What my life is about now is ending the concept of hatred and separation.
It's about practicing this idea of not putting your thoughts on what is missing and shifting it to it's on its way. It's on its way. It's on its way. 4 words, just get them tattooed someplace inside of you. Whatever it is that you would like to attract into your life, know that it's on its way. And I want to say to you that as you begin to get your thoughts more harmonized with Tao thinking, that is, with the thinking of the source, the thinking of God, that which always has been, that which does nothing but leaves nothing undone, as you begin to more and more harmonize in this way, what happens is that you start elevating your thoughts so that the habit of how you think becomes more harmonized. Rather than a polarity with what you want to attract, it becomes harmonized with it, and it becomes your natural way of how you think all the time. And you start then beginning to teach your children the same way of thinking. So you just catch them when they start saying things like, oh, with my luck it won't work out. Why have any of us ever learned to say, with my luck, and having it mean things aren't going to work out? Why wouldn't you say, and just have it as your habit, with my luck, it'll probably show up faster than it normally does? Why not have that kind of a way? Because here's what happens. As you begin to shift the way that you think and have an anticipation that this thing is going to work out for you, you can only act upon your thoughts. And as you get these higher and higher thoughts, what happens is that the thought is now more aligned with what it is you want to attract, and then you start acting upon that thought. And as you start acting upon the thought that it will work out, that it's probably on its way, you start to see how this whole system all works. In other words, call it the universe, whatever you want, begins to conspire with you. It begins to act almost in where you suddenly become a collaborator with fate. And instead of fate being something that just might or might not happen to you, you're in collaboration with what it is that you want to attract. I mean, ask any physician, there's physicians here today, ask them about something called the will to live. Ask them about somebody who's going in for a corneal transplant and thinks that I'm going to see when this thing is done, rather than someone who thinks it probably won't work out. And which one would they rather work with? What is this thing called the will to live? What is this thing, this inner kind of thing that says, I refuse to allow myself to think? And they've done research on this, in studies on gerontology, where what does your life look like from 60 plus versus what does your life look like below, from 60 down to into your 20s? That people who live a dynamic life into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, people who feel strong, who don't feel that getting older means that I have to in any way decline any place, physically or mentally. Getting older has nothing to do with the concept of declining. That when people are in their 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, and this is their perception of what their life is going to be like when they are in their 60s, that those people have a much greater chance of not attracting the kinds of diseases that are so much age-related as do people who think of old as infirm and declining throughout their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. That you change the way you believe about that and you say declining is not a possibility. And we can create the kind of world that we want to create when enough of us begin to say, not part of my consciousness. Nope, I don't buy gossip. No, I don't buy violence. No, I don't have anything to do with that. And you just turn the channel, you turn it off. I pick up a Time magazine when I get on a flight and I go through and I say, I won't read the stories that involve killing. I won't read this. I don't need to hear any more about any more people blowing themselves up. I don't need to continue to have that as a part of my consciousness, because I want to be someone who radiates out God-realized thinking. That's what I want to do. And I can't do that if I'm constantly being imbued with that. So I just go through the pages, page. And usually I say, oh, just threw away another $4.95. There's nothing in it to read. Every once in a while, a good story about maybe Tiger Woods or something, but by and large, there's not much in there. And you don't have to fill yourself with that kind of energy.